They know it's a dud. They'll act differently. This is their last moment to breathlessly, hysterically hyperventilate over nothing, because we already know the answer. And whether they want to admit this or not, the answer is clear, unambiguous, and it gets right to the point, because Attorney General Barr already included from the Mueller report the sentence that kills all Trump-Russia collusion from Robert Mueller's report. The investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. So now they've been hanging their hope. If you watch closely, though, they're not really even hanging their hope on obstruction, because, you know, the way the attorney general wrote this up, he's like, yeah, well, we decided in seconds that he didn't obstruct justice, and it didn't rise to the level of any type of indictable offense, in part because there's no underlying crime. You would need that to get to beyond a reasonable doubt. And just because Donald Trump said he wanted to fire Mueller and it's a witch hunt, and wanted to fire Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions, and he fired Jim Comey, and he wished that Lieutenant General Flynn, I hope he doesn't get in trouble. He didn't do any of those things. So just because he says it. Now, the perfect example is, well, the same deep state operatives that are about to be hit so hard, their mothers will feel the vibration of what's about to happen in terms of all that is going to be coming out. Everything we have reported in the last 2 years, we have evidence that will confirm and corroborate and verify that we were more right than we ever knew. Now, they're going to do their thing tomorrow. They're going to hysterically report. Look at this sentence. See, when he said to fire Mueller, and he talked about the 18 people he hired that were all Democratic donors, and it's all true, including Clinton's lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, Trump acted. Trey Gowdy infamously said, if you're innocent, act like you're innocent. And in that sense, he was using it the wrong way, because he was suggesting that maybe Trump should be quiet. And I'm thinking, well, if I'm innocent, I'm going to scream it from the rooftops that I'm innocent, because you're innocent. And I think I think Jerome Corsi, I'll use him as an example, was on the brink of being indicted. I really believe it, because Jerome Corsi came on this radio show for a long time, came on TV, and Jerome Corsi said, I didn't remember all the emails and the details. It's 2 years ago. And that's called a perjury trap. And I ask any of you, this is the danger for anybody that goes in and testifies. Because if you get something wrong, you don't remember, or you don't remember correctly, which is frankly very human, then they think they get to decide. They're the deciders. They get to determine whether or not you're lying, or whether or not you really didn't remember it accurately. And he gave me a sneak preview. I guess he has a book coming out, and in it he talked about, well, if there's anything you guys have that'll jog my memory, I don't remember. And he's 70 years old. I know I'm 57. I kind of have my memory lapses too. It's weird how everybody has a different type of memory. I know people, they're great at memorizing in school. They didn't, 10 minutes, they'd have their vocabulary list down pat. And I'm like agonizing over trying to remember it. That's not how my brain works. But when I talk about Reagan's record, I can give you chapter and verse. You want, George W. Bush's record, I'll give you that chapter and verse. I'll give you Clinton chapter and verse. I'll give you Obama chapter and verse. I'll give you the Trump presidency chapter and verse. But if you ask me who was on my show on Monday, I'm gonna struggle. I won't remember. And I would say, well, hang on, let me go back and look at my text message. What is it? All right, so-and-so, 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 and so-and-so. I can't tell you who was on TV Monday night right now. Linda, do you remember? I can't remember. Well, I mean, we do have our cast of characters. I don't remember. Solomon, I think, was on Monday night, right?
He had a breaking story.
He's got a great piece out today. Oh, did you see Hell Froze Over? I cannot believe I guess it was the Newsbusters that pointed it out, where they actually, at the Washington Post, admit that Fox News has been right all along. And I got a special shout out, especially Sean Hannity. although they've been slammed for it, clamoring for an investigation of the investigators, aligning themselves with the president's claim of politically motivated witch hunt. Yeah, it goes on. It says Fox News, echo chamber for the right, but no more than CNN and MSNBC are for the left. And to be fair, when a Democrat's in the White House, the network switch places, and Fox News criticizes every move. MSNBC, CNN defend the wall, which isn't true at Fox News. You know, I just happen to be the one talk show host that is a conservative. I'm a member of the press, whether they like it or not. Now, I've never been to the Washington Correspondents' Dinner. I was glad to see that the president is going to hold a rally on the Saturday night of the Washington Correspondents' Dinner. I literally got in trouble one year when Fox was making me go. I'm like, I don't want to go. You have to go. I don't want to go. I don't like those people. I don't want to go. I don't want to put on that stupid suit that they make you wear, number one. And number two, there's nobody that's going to be there that I really want to hang out with. And I'd rather sit home and watch it on TV or never watch it at all. Anyway, so do you remember that year? I got very sick on that Friday before the Saturday, and
I could have sworn you were washing your hair.
Yeah, well, so I get a call from, I pulled I'm really feeling really bad on Friday. I think I can't go to work tonight. And Bill Shine calls me and he goes, you're absolutely full of it. He goes, you're not sick. You're lying to me. And I said, 100% I'm lying to you. Well, you tell Roger, he says at the time.
But
so
I think it would actually be fun if you went, not for nothing.
Well, okay. Well, I'll tell you what.
It's kind of like when you go to
tickets every
these...
year. I'll give you the tickets. You can have my tickets.
No, you can't send me. They don't have a bleep out button there. I'll never make it.
No, I think you'll make it. I mean, it would be interesting. That might make worth the price of admission at that point. And then anyway, so Bill goes in and says Hannity doesn't want to go. After we've been through like 4 weeks of saying that he has to go, he finally throws up his hands. He said, I can't even repeat what he said. But basically, I was off the hook. But, you know, when they go through all of this stuff happened. It's all true. That's why, look, this is not an accident. I'll explain later. I've talked about why do we always get these stories right and the media always gets it wrong? Because the media is now in a state of Trump psychosis. This is beyond derangement syndrome. And I remember the first person to say this was Newt Gingrich. He goes, no. They wake up every morning. How can we hurt Trump today? And they're salivating for tomorrow. Now, I just read to you that everything they've been telling you on these networks and in the Washington Post and the New York Times for 2.5 years is false on Russia collusion. No evidence. It says from the Mueller report, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Okay, done. And then it gets into a long explanation. I did it yesterday, won't do it again, where the attorney general very quickly, without any consideration surrounding the indictment or the possible indictment or criminal prosecution of a sitting president or DOJ policy on such, it was based on the facts and it was based regarding many factual matters. The special counsel's investigation on obstruction. It was based on a review, but the special counsel's final report that they never found an underlying crime. It was reviewed by the Office of Legal Counsel, and they applied the real principles of federal prosecution to guide charging decisions. And even Rod Rosenstein and Attorney General Barr concluded quickly that it's nowhere meets the standard of or sufficient enough to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense. The great irony is as they hyperventilate starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow and continue all through the day and all through the night and all through Friday and all through the weekend. Well, the problem is not one of them will ever mention the fact that Hillary did commit underlying crimes. It is the proof positive. It's not, it is incontrovertible evidence. She violated the Espionage Act. I put it up on TV last night. 18 USC 793, having special access programming information, top secret, classified information, marked as such on her email server. That is a felony. She committed multiple felonies. Okay, so you got an underlying crime. Then you got the intent. The intent when she deleted the subpoenaed emails and cleaned the hard drive with bleach bit and busted up the devices and removed SIM cards. That is the clearest, biggest, hugest slam dunk obstruction of justice case you will ever see in your life. Because the intent is obvious, to hide and eliminate the evidence that proves she violated the law. And all these people start sounding like they care, starting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, about obstruction. They are full of it. It's just like they believe, the accusers of Kavanaugh, but they're dead silent when it comes to the lieutenant governor of Virginia. Nothing. I don't hear any I believers. None of them. And those interviews were beyond credible that Gayle King of CBS did in both cases. One, an accusation of rape, another accusation of violent sexual assault, and corroboration of people that they told at the time. We don't even have an investigation in the state of Virginia going on at this point. I don't know where the federal investigation is. So that's going to be for tomorrow. Now, the worst part for all of them, and I don't expect, they made a mistake over at the Washington Post. Somebody messed up. Hannity's right. Hannity was right. Oh, yeah. Well, here's what's happening. What we've learned just from Nellie Broussard and their closed-door testimonies, thanks to Doug Collins released, and Strzok and Page and James Baker and Precep and all these other people, and there's 53 other closed-door sessions we haven't even touched yet. That's all going to come out, all of it. And what we're seeing, though, is an emerging circular firing squad. Strzok and Page, they brought this right into the office of the Attorney General Loretta Lynch. Okay, what did she know? When did she know it? Where's her emails? Where's her text messages? But then it asked the question, well, what did Rice know? And what about the leaking and the unmasking and, Brennan and Clapper's role in all of this? This is not going to stop. It is now the beginning. They have one more rubber bullet, political bullet they're going to fire at Trump, and it's going to bounce off him like Superman, and they're stuck because they lied. They advanced conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory, and they were wrong the entire time. But then we'll get the Nunes criminal referrals. Then we're going to get the Barr investigation. He used the word spying on the Trump campaign. That's all going to come out. The Horowitz Pfizer report sometime in May, which is going to show fraud committed at a high level against the court to get a warrant to deny an American citizen his constitutional rights, but more importantly, to also spy on an opposition party campaign using a bought and paid for Russian dossier, Russian lies that Hillary paid for, and everybody, according to Broussard, was warned about. Then you got the Huber leaking. Then we'll actually at some point get the FISA applications. Then we'll get to see pages 10 through 12 and 17 through 34. Then we'll actually get to read the Gang of Eight material where the FBI admits they abuse power. And then we'll get, maybe Christopher Steele's testimony from down in Florida, which is going to be pretty damning, I hear. And then we'll get also the 302s. It's all coming out. Hillary's investigation is going to be reopened. And if it is, she's going to be charged. And deep state actors, many of the names we have been repeating for 2 years, they too will be getting criminal referrals and many will be indicted. Because if we don't do it, the end result is this will happen again. An attempted coup. One to help the favored candidate in an election and rig an election, and then to bludgeon with lies the duly elected president of the United States. And if we don't have equal justice under the law, equal application of our laws, if we let this pass, there won't be a constitution. And in the end, say goodbye to our constitutional republic. It must be investigated. Justice has to be served. I don't like the fact that, in the process, the 99.9% of good intelligence people and good FBI people, the premier intelligence and law enforcement agency in the world are tainted by this. And it's very interesting, too, that they're only going after, did he in any way help Chelsea Manning on the information, which apparently also, too, was edited. I remember asking a question in that interview about this. Would you put people's lives at risk? And he said they carefully do not. That was I remember the answer to that, or something to that effect. But okay, well, let's see where he got the emails. Did it really come from Russia? Did it come from multiple sources? Why did they not ask him that? Why are they only focusing on the Chelsea Manning issue? when it comes to all the other information. You know what the broader question is? How is it even possible? Because this has been going on for decades, that we have, as a government, our top secrets are so vulnerable. And it's like, here, another case. You've been hacked, you dummies. Fix it. You know, it becomes shame on you, shame on you. After 30 plus years, when does it become, what the hell is going on in the government that they don't protect our secrets? You want to know why the Clinton, look at the Freedom of Information Act request by Judicial Watch showing the emails when officials began to realize the top secret classified information on her secret server in the mom and pop bathroom closet. They were like, oh my God, this is going to forever impact our relations with foreign countries, because that's how sensitive it was. On top of the fact that they originally believed that 6 foreign intelligence services hacked into the, Platts Rivers network server in a mom and pop bathroom closet. Watch, all the people that care about obstruction, they're not going to say a thing. But in the Pentagon Papers, if you're not involved in the stealing of information or conspiring to do so, well, then it becomes a case that we have 6-3. The Supreme Court ruled with the New York Times and Washington Post that joined in that effort. And the information they had a legitimate right of the press to print. Question is, when is our government? I think we have 250,000 IT people, government officials. Why? Why are we so vulnerable still that this keeps happening? When we literally have sources, methods, information about our Defense Department, war, peace, our enemies, intelligence. You got to keep it secret. Is the other danger. We have the powerful tools of intelligence. Got to protect them and only make sure the people use it for good, for peace, to protect innocent Americans, protect other innocent people around the world. If we pick up intel that, such country, an ally of ours, is in trouble, that something might happen, we pass it on. If something terrible is in the works, we pass it on. So innocent people don't die. That's how it's life and death. So don't think, by the way, after 9 a.m. that this is it, because, I believe you're going to hear from Jay Sekulow, Rudy Giuliani, and a major rebuttal and real truth and real fact finding, because the president's lawyers, this was reported by the AP, have put the finishing touches on their rebuttal that will also come out tomorrow. Rudy Giuliani, one of the president's attorneys, said earlier yesterday that the document will be dozens of pages long. He says it will be published in the hours after the release of the Mueller report, as it should be. And we'll see. Just watch. You're going to watch the same hysteria that you've watched for 2.5 years. The same get Trump, but it's already dead. They don't know it's already dead. We have the literally Barr inserted in his letter. I can read this again and again and again, and they won't get it anyway. The Mueller report says the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. It's over. Now, do I think the Andrew Weissmans of Mueller's team and the Jeannie Rays and all the Democratic donors that worked in their office, are they going to take shots at Donald Trump and try and raise innuendo? Innuendo's fine, but it doesn't mean a thing in a court of law. There was plenty of innuendo when they said they wanted to tape the president of the United States and entrap the president of the United States and invoke the 25th Amendment of to remove the sitting president, a duly elected president. They said it. We now know because of closed door testimony they said, but they never did it. You can say a lot of things. I like to kick his ass or her, whatever, blah, 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 blah. You can say it. Don't do it. You don't do it, you didn't commit a crime. I'd always thought that, punish people for what they do. I never understood hate crimes legislation. If there's a motivation that you can tie to the actual crime, then you get an extra penalty. Like it became a big deal in the 2000 presidential race. That horrible ad, the horrible killing of James Byrd. He was dragged to his death by animals, and George Bush supported the death penalty. That ad said it was like my father was killed all over again because he didn't support hate crimes legislation. No, he supported the death penalty for the evil perpetrated on this innocent man, which is what you should punish people for. You know, it's hard when you get into obstruction. You have intent. That's why Hillary's case is such a slam dunk. The intent to erase the subpoenaed emails and acid wash the hard drive, and not with a cloth, with something we never knew existed, bleach pit. Now everybody knows. And then, of course, beat up your devices because there may be some more evidence on those with a hammer and remove SIM cards. The intent is to cover up the real crime, which is the Espionage Act violation. Nobody will talk about that tomorrow as they hyperventilate. That's what it's going to be all day. And it's going nowhere. You know, whatever innuendo they have in there, which is guaranteed. There's not anything that rises to a level to warrant an indictment. That's it. Mueller already decided that, or else he would have indicted. You know, it's bad enough that the Democrats keep and the media propaganda, the psychosis that has engulfed media and Democrats in this country. They should be apologizing for being so wrong on Russia collusion. They should be. It never should have happened in the first place. But they're never going to go there. I mean, do we really think that the cowardly Schiff or Gerald Nadler, I want them all to come on this program. Maxine Waters, I'll give her 3 hours any day she wants. Adam Schiff, 3 hours. Nadler, 3 hours. Come on, let's go through this chapter and verse. And but they already have the greatest evidence that this is true, that they're in this position, is they're now moving on. And the evidence of that is now, Sarah Carter actually broke this, a letter that Jim Jordan sent to the chairman, Elijah Cummings, about unprecedented subpoenas, et cetera, et cetera. We describe these memorandums of understanding as an agreement to conspire, coordinate their efforts to attack and investigate the president. Now, Jordan emphatically, by the way, objected to these secret memorandums of understanding, excoriating Democrats. They didn't consult with Republican members of the committee. They didn't allow members to consider and debate the terms of the memorandum of understanding before they executed it. It was Chairman Cummings, Chairwoman Waters, and also Chairman Schiff, the cowardly Schiff. They didn't disclose it to any members or the American people until Jim Jordan had to find out about it, and he wrote a letter to Cummings to provide greater transparency around your secretive conduct. And by the way, if you intend to continue to use the committee's limited resources to attack President Trump for political gain, I hope you'll at least be transparent about your actions. Your ability to function as a fair, unbiased finder of the fact is now at grave risk. The members of the committee, and now more importantly, the American people we represent, deserve to know exactly how you're leading the committee. And then he has a series of questions. Well, how many of these memorandums of understanding are there? What other chairpersons signed on to the memorandum of understanding? You know what it's about? It's about going after Donald Trump on money, finances. They're on to the next conspiracy. They're on to the next witch hunt. This one didn't work out. Let's try another one. See if that works. Would you provide a detailed list of how many you've signed and what their dates, who signed them, the topics? Why did you not publicly disclose that you signed memorandums of understanding to go after Trump? Will you publicly disclose them all? Why did you choose not to consult with Republican members? Have you signed them as chairman with any entities outside the House of Representatives, to the extent that these memorandums create duties for committee in conflict with the rules of the House of Representatives? On the Rules Committee, which duties prevail? Rules Committee for the 116th Congress does not authorize chairman to bind the committee through memorandums of understanding. I understand that your memorandum of understanding with Chairwoman Waters, you agreed to consult with her before issuing a subpoena. Do you intend to consult with Congresswoman Waters before or after you consult with me, as required by committee rules? If I object to your proposed subpoena, do you intend to consult with the Chairwoman Waters before or after the committee votes? Gotta be kidding me. All it is a never-ending witch hunt. That's it. This is all they got. This is what you've elected. People that don't care about safety, security, the things they cared about, DACA, Dreamers. They don't even care about, I believe, because now their silence is deafening in the case of the Attorney General of Virginia. By the way, it looks like AOC, at AOC on Twitter, is taking Bernie's advice on how to become a millionaire, because apparently she has inked a book deal. Apparently hired a top Hollywood talent agency and explored the possibility of writing a book. I think Congresswoman Omar already has a book deal. Creative Arts Agency. All right, so we can expect that book. By the way, Lindsey Graham, two other Senate committee chairmen, launch a probe into the FBI's Hillary email cover-up. You cannot get to equal justice under the law and application of our laws. You cannot talk about obstruction when Donald Trump did nothing except express, frankly, warranted frustration at what he had to live through. No collusion. The fourth time we found that conclusion, and not get frustrated at the never ending distraction. And still he's governed at this high level. By the way, now Americans, they're not going to like that Donald Trump was spied on. I'm telling you, just buckle up. It's all coming. We haven't been wrong yet. Just wait for the circular firing squad. The behind closed door interviews coming out. They're all turning on each other. This is their last political rubber bullet that they're going to, breathe hysterically over tomorrow. Then the criminal referrals, then the Barr investigation on spying and the conduct of those in the 2016 investigation of Trump. From them forward, then the FISA warrants, then the Uber report, then FISA applications, then the rigged investigation. That's what Lindsey Graham is talking about, which is the right thing to do. Grassley Graham, criminal referral, asked the DOJ to investigate direct contacts by Clinton operatives with Christopher Steele. Yeah, I'd like the answer to those questions, too. And that's all going to happen. It's all coming out. May not be the first and only article. The Washington Post says that Hannity's been right. I think there might be more. Linda's laughing. No, that's it? By one shot at glory?
I mean, I don't know. I was shocked by the first one.
I'm laughing. Somebody didn't do their job. Somebody messed up. Somebody's probably going to get fired over all of that by the time the day is done. Anyway, we got a lot to get to. All the Democrats now are scared to death of Bernie Sanders. You got Beto O'Rourke saying, we're all going to have to sacrifice. He sounds like Jimmy Carter. We'll need to put our heat down and wear sweaters. We'll sacrifice on a scale of U.S. and World War II. Sacrifice. Once we give up oil and gas, no other country's going to give up oil and gas. We're done. Then he calls Trump a racist Islamophobe in defense of Omar and her anti-Semitic statements. And by the way, I noticed that Robert Francis Beto, only donated $1,166 to charity in 2018 when he made $370,412. Again, liberals are only generous with your money. And by the way, over the last 10 years, his donations exceeded 1% of his income only one of the 10 years. Wow. Unbelievable. So that's your party. But everyone's scared to death. New York Times. They're scared to death at the rise of Bernie. Pelosi's on defense over Democratic anti-Semitism in denial. We have, I guess, David Brock of Media Matters, or one time of Media Matters. I don't know what he does now, but a Clinton loyalist. He's now building an organization to campaign to stop Bernie. Bad blood between Bernie and everybody else. I don't know. Why are they so scared of Bernie? I guess because they think he can win the primary. I don't see anybody that's going to beat Trump. Nobody. A lot can change. You never know. But right now, nope, not this extreme radical party that is not interested in governing this country. That is only interested in destroying a duly elected president who's made more progress in 2.5 years than their president on the Democratic side made in 8, undoing the total colossal failure and mess of Obama. Good luck running on that, Joe Biden. Hey, listen, imagine if I spent the first few minutes of this show and I gave out my driver's license number, my social security number, financial information. That would be dumb, right? Well, if you connect to public Wi-Fi, even if it's password protected, That's kind of exactly the same thing you're doing, exposing private information that could be used and stolen by cyber criminals. That's why you need Norton Secure VPN. It's a virtual private network that will encrypt all of your connections, even on public Wi-Fi, so that the information you send and receive is safe from cyber criminals who want to steal this that we get. Oh, not a taint of anti-Semitism in the Democratic Party. Not at all. Really? Michelle Obama, the U.S. under Trump is like living with a divorced dad. So let me just tell you something. I know more divorced dads. I don't know why people get divorced at the level they do. I don't think anybody has any clue what goes on behind closed doors. And then you have some of the best fathers I know. Linda, you know John Gomez, my best friend from third grade. He married.
Amazing person, amazing.
Right. And you know his daughter, Jackie, who just got married.
Beautiful young lady.
The sweetest girl in the world. And as the best stepdad I've ever met in my life. I mean, it's just amazing relationships. I mean, what is that? Where is that cut coming from? Oh, these guys that show up every other Saturday for 10 minutes and watch football. I mean, what is that?
Maybe the Obamas aren't as happy as they portray.
Well, whatever. All part of the insanity. What we have going on in the 2020 campaign, by the way, hour 2, Sean Hannity Show, 800-941-SEAN, our toll-free telephone number. You've got Hillary's top media ally now organizing to stop Bernie Sanders before it's too late. That's David Brock now is openly saying it. There's a growing realization Sanders could end up winning this thing, or certainly that he stays in so long he damages the actual winner, which the Clintons hate Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would have won the primary against Hillary had they not cheated and the superdelegates. And now the rules have been changed, so they're scared to death now more of Bernie than ever. But it is a real battle that is happening. And it's also the Stop Sanders Democrats agonizing over his momentum. And Sanders, I mean, say what you will about the guy. He's out there fighting. And you got, of course, the insanity of the other candidates. Eric, what's his name? Swalwell? He's now saying, the Second Amendment, he wants gun confiscation. He wants everybody to hand over their guns that he chooses that are deemed too powerful. No, not one of these people can tell you what the difference is between, quote, an assault weapon or an AR-15, except for cosmetic reasons that they don't even understand, nor have they ever shot these weapons. It's ridiculous. Then the battle over reparations. Then, of course, late term and during birth and after birth infanticide and abortion and murder, frankly. So that battle is going on. Then you got the intramural battle with AOC and let's see, Congresswoman Omar and Tlaib, and they're standing up against Pelosi. Pelosi finally, trying to fight back, but she knows that they have enough power to destroy her speakership. Anyway, joining us now, Kayleigh McEnany, National Press Secretary, Trump 2020 campaign. Jeff Lord, of course, his new book is coming out soon. Swamp Wars, Donald Trump and the New American Populism Against the Old Order. Welcome both of you to the program. Good to hear from you both. I'm watching what has now become a circular firing squad in the deep state. And now after they finally shoot their last rubber bullet that's going to fail on Thursday with the reveal of the Mueller report, Jeff, then they're already turning to taxes and memorandum of understanding between different chairmen, Maxine Waters and Chairman Cummings, and also, of course, the cowardly Schiff. So, if Donald Trump cured cancer and gave every American $5 million and embraced their radical new Green Deal, they still would hate him.
I think back to before we were around, Sean, and Harry Truman campaigned against the Republican Do-Nothing Congress in 1948, I believe it was, and of course won in an upset. All these activities that these people are involved in here currently that you've just named among others, they're doing that rather than, say, infrastructure bills where they could work with the president. They're doing that rather than, say, trying to fix health care. What they're doing is frankly, I think, very damaging to themselves. And the president is well aware of exactly how bad this has gotten, and he will make this an issue. He will take it right to him, and he should.
By the way, and the president wins because he keeps fighting for his agenda, even in the midst of a 2.5-year witch hunt. You know, Kaylee, we know what tomorrow is. Tomorrow is, well, Donald Trump, well, he didn't commit collusion, so we were wrong on that for 2.5 years, but obstruction maybe because he openly talked about firing Mueller. He openly talked about a witch hunt. He openly talked about, firing Sessions or Rosenstein, or wishing and hoping and praying that a 33-year veteran who served his country in times of war, General Flynn, I hope nothing happens to him. But at the end of the day, he did none of that. Nothing. Just like the deep state talks about, let's invoke the 25th Amendment and let's tape Donald Trump in the Oval Office when he doesn't know it. They didn't do that either. They just thought about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Look, President Trump has done nothing wrong. We already know the conclusion before tomorrow's report even comes. We know that Mueller himself said no collusion, as you noted. We know that Barr himself said no obstruction. President Trump has been completely...
Rod Rosenstein said it in the Department of...
Sure.
The whole department went over this. Legal counsel went over this.
Absolutely. And the Democrats used to love Rod Rosenstein up until about 3 to 4 weeks ago when he exonerated the president. So tomorrow, you're right. The media will take this out of context. They'll distort it. But we have to keep our eye on the ball. Now it's time to investigate the liars, investigate the investigators who started this 3-year witch hunt, who spied on President Trump's campaign, who unmasked people, who used human sources, who wiretapped. It's time to turn the game, investigate the investigators. That is where the wrongdoing lies, and we won't take our focus off of that as a campaign.
Can you imagine, Jeffrey Lord? I'm still in a state of shock. The Washington Post prints an article from a contributing columnist based out of Hillsborough, Ohio. Admit it, Fox News has been right all along. And, listen, there were very few of us. And we built a team, frankly, an ensemble team that I'm extraordinarily proud of. Everybody that works on this radio show is a part of it, as well as everybody that works on my TV show. And I'm not going to mention every name because I'm going to forget some people that were part of the ensemble. You were part of the ensemble as well, Jeff. But those of us that said, no, what the media is saying is false. There's no evidence. These are anonymous sources. This is breathless hysteria. They're out to get Trump. And we were proven right. And now we're about to get proven more right than we ever dreamed, because all of the evidence is now sitting and waiting and will be revealed in pretty short order.
Well, that's right. This was, and I say this in my new book, Swamp Wars, this was a silent coup. The old novel and movie 7 Days in May about an attempt of the military to take over and unseat a president of the United States. This was exactly that, except it was done by bureaucrats in the FBI and the Department of Justice. And I suspect John Brennan had a hand in this over at the CIA. This is what this was all about. It's incredible, banana republic stuff. It's very dangerous. And so I think that we're finally going to get to the bottom of this. But you were 100% right, as were all of these people, this ensemble cast that you've had on your show. And that op-ed, and I almost fell out.
I didn't know you read it. I mean, I'm reading this thing and I'm saying, no, this must be some other newspaper.
Exactly.
This didn't get past a Washington Post editor. Saying that especially Hannity had it right from the beginning. I'm like, wow.
Right. And I have to tell you, this is exactly what mirrors my experience right here in the middle of Pennsylvania. I mean, when I go around and people stop me, I got stopped this morning when I was out grocery shopping. People love it.
By the way, let me ask you a question. Do you get what I get? I was shopping last week, and I go grocery shopping every week. Every week it happens the same thing. Why are you here? And I'm like, look at me. I like to eat. And they're like, no, really, why are you here? And I'm like, to buy food. And people can't believe, I like grocery shopping. I like cooking. Does that make me a bad person?
It makes you in touch with the common person.
I mean,
it's a good thing.
My father made me go grocery shopping with him every Friday night because he did the shopping, and to keep me out of trouble on Friday nights, I had to go with him. I'm actually a great shopper. I know exactly what's on the list, and I go for it really fast. But you know something? As we watch this unfold, Kaylee, this is what's going to happen. Now we have 53, we know, undisclosed, closed-door session testimonies that are given by these deep state members that are now creating a circular firing squad. They're all turning on each other. We have the criminal referrals of Nunes. We have Barr's investigation. Yeah, there was real spying, as we had Andy McCarthy on this program and on TV last night. So we'll get to that. Horowitz and his FISA investigation is coming out in pretty short order. The Uber investigation. Then we're still going to get to the FISA applications themselves. The bulk of information is Hillary's bought and paid for phony Russian dossier. Then we got 302's Gang of Eight. And very clearly now, this is moving in a direction that this rigged investigation into Hillary Clinton, who had committed a real crimes, real felonies, violating the Espionage Act with top secret and classified information on that private server. And with the intent, she took 33,000 subpoenaed emails, erased them, and then used BleachBit and then busted up her devices and removed SIM cards. This is now going to flip. It is going to be the biggest boomerang 180 I think the media and the Democratic Party have ever witnessed in their life.
Oh, that's exactly right. And we heard Attorney General Barr testify just last week. He said there was a failure among a group of leaders at the upper echelon of the FBI. He also said, I think spying did occur. We know spying did occur. I've watched you, Sean. Break it down. Put the timeline out there of all the spying that occurred dating back to the summer of 2016.
Stefan Halper went after Papadopoulos, Carter Page, Sam Clovis. Then we have, of course, the FISA abuse fraud committed upon a court to get a backdoor into all things Trump campaign, and then also to bludgeon the president with that phony dossier.
Exactly. And then the hundreds of unmasking requests that revealed the identities of Trump officials. And then you have Peter Strzok's text to Lisa Page saying, we have an insurance plan against the president, all the while knowing there's, quote, no there there. We have got to get to the bottom of this. When the intelligence departments of the U.S. government are weaponized to attack a political campaign, that should be a headline on every newspaper. Unfortunately, it's not been. And a lot of credit to you for putting a spotlight on
I'm not looking for credit.
Care about long ago.
Let me tell you one thing, and I'll just say, I'll tell you after the break. This is not by accident that we get things right. And and it's not tooting our own horn. I wish it didn't happen. I don't like to ever talk about, as Joe DeGeneva says, and he's right, but it stings every time he says it, bad cops. And there's not a lot of them. There's a few of them, but they were at the upper levels of power within the DOJ and FBI. But there's a reason we get things right, and I'll explain that on the other side. But listen, I can't live without my morning cup of coffee. You don't want to be around me until I have my Black Rifle coffee in the morning. The best, the most delicious coffee, roast to order, that I've ever had in my life. You're guaranteed, by the way, they deliver it to your house. You're getting the freshest premium coffee. Now, this is a coffee company that was built by veterans, first responders, American heroes. They actually made this coffee. They would import beans to Afghanistan and Iraq, and because they didn't like the government coffee, and they started to produce their own blends, and that's how Black Rifle was conceived. And not only do they hire first responders and vets, but they also donate some of their proceeds to first responder causes, veteran responders. And don't forget the Black Rifle Coffee Club. You just pick your perfect blend, the amount you want, and it'll show up at your door every month, hassle-free. And you also get discounts not available to other customers by joining their club. You don't pay to join the club, you just join it. But it's the best coffee you've ever had in your life. Once you taste it, you're never going to go back to any other brand. Now, if you want the best, the most delicious roast-to-order coffee sent right to your home, well, just go to blackrifle.com, blackriflecoffee.com/Sean. You get 20% off your first purchase. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and you can also spend probably 5 hours looking at their videos. They're off the hook hilarious. blackriflecoffee.com/Sean, 20% off, and you're supporting these brave men and women that put their lives on the line for us and their company, led by the Democratic Party. I think, look, you had America's first African-American president, had 8 years in office, and he added 13 million more Americans to food stamps, 8 million more to poverty, had the lowest labor participation rate since the 70s, worst recovery since the 40s, lowest home ownership rate in 51 years, only president ever not to reach 3% GDP in his time as president, and doubled the debt took on more debt than every other president before him combined. Well, disproportionately, minorities in America were negatively impacted by those policies. Here's Donald Trump 2+ years later, record low unemployment, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workforce, youth unemployment, and I can go on for another hour. But that would take away time from Candace Owens, who joins us now. You know, I pay very close attention to the things you say, and one thing you did very well in this particular event, in spite of all that hate, you were extraordinarily polite in your interactions with those people that were getting in your face. It could be a very threatening situation. And one thing I'll just offer unsolicited advice. I hope you always have security with you, because there are some crazy people at all these events. But more importantly, when you talk about this entire movement, you call it the Blexit movement. It's something that I have over the years. Remember, I'm 30 years in radio. I'm a little older, and 23 years on Fox. And it's been very frustrating to me to see such a low percentage of the African American community vote for conservative policies. And in part because I know they work for every American, which is what I want. And it's now being proved on steroids and human growth hormone. And I think there does come a point where every 2 and 4 years, when Democrats predictably say that Republicans are racist and sexist and homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, want dirty air, water, they want kids to die and throw granny over the cliff. In the case of African Americans, I do believe that when people see the opportunities, the policies that work, and begin to understand the history of the Voting Rights Act, the Civil Rights Act, I believe that this is something that can happen for the conservative movement. Policies that are good for everybody.
That's absolutely correct. And look, I say this because I come from a position where I was that typical Black American who believed that Republicans were racist. Sean, if you had asked me 3 years ago, just 3 years ago, what do you think about Republicans? I would have said they're racist. What do you think about Fox News? It's a network full of racists. So this ignorance that we're talking about that has descended in the Black community has nothing to do with it has more to do with the fact that they're brainwashing us via the education system. That is what we are proactively learning in school. These disastrous public schools, they're teaching us our history wrong. No one ever mentions the fact that Republicans saved us at every point in history. By the time you get a high school diploma as a Black American, you are certain that at every point in history, the Democrats saved you and the Republicans tried to block it. And that could not be further from the truth. So I consider the Blexit movement almost a re-education program for Black Americans to get involved and to embrace their futures and to learn the truth about the sick and twisted and racist history of the Democrat Party.
You know, I know the defined and expressed movement of Blexit. It's aimed at African Americans to exit the Democratic Party and vote Republican. I want to be very clear. I'm not a registered Republican either, and I'm not that fond of some Republicans, especially the ones that have no vision, no backbone. Their legs buckle anytime that it comes to fulfilling a campaign promise, like repealing Obamacare, protecting our borders. You know, a lot of these people, they're so, they're just afraid of their own shadow. But anybody that's going to institute the conservative policies that would secure our borders, that ends burdensome regulation like the president has done on energy, big example, that unleashes the tax burden on the American people, lets people keep more of their money, incentivizes business to build factories and manufacturing centers here. Those are all jobs for Americans. The energy sector alone, Candace, is going to create hundreds of thousands of high-paying career jobs for all Americans. We are going to be wealthy. Every American can be wealthy if we would just tap that one resource.
Right, and that's exactly right, and that's what I advocate for. So I want to be clear. I have never told a single person to register as a Republican. I consider myself an independent, and I support this president. And I'm very vocal about my support of this president for all of the reasons that you just listed. And the number one reason being that he's decreasing our government dependency. We're talking about independence, the ability to go after the American dream, something that we were really losing under Obama's leadership. And I hate to even use the word leadership. we were losing this country. We were on the brink of losing that American dream and losing the jobs, and everything was going overseas. That's what we talk about, things that are actually impacting Black America specifically. And I'll tell you one thing, it sure is not white supremacy or white nationalism or white people that has been keeping us out of the American dream. I think it's the culture of victimhood that is descended on my community, and it's like a plague keeping us from our futures.
All right, quick break. We'll come back more with Candace Owens on the other side. Also, Bill O'Reilly at the top of the next hour. 800-941-SEAN is our number as we continue. Hey, if there's one thing we all need to agree on, it's the need to feel safe and secure in your home. Fear less. Well, you want to be fearless in your own home? You need Simply Safe Home Security. They have taken the home security business, turned it upside down, gotten rid of everything that everybody hates about the home security business. Number one, they don't bust up your walls. You don't have a hardwired system. It's a system that is wireless but works under the most difficult of situations. And you can even take it from one home to the next home or one apartment to the next apartment. And it is built and protected in ways that expect the unexpected. Power goes out, it works. Wi-Fi down, it works. Burglar smashes your keypad, it works. Simply Safe has some of the fastest response times in the industry. They're ready to send help 24/7 if, God forbid, your family has an emergency. It's not just me, CNET, PC Magazine. There are now millions of Americans like me protecting our homes with Simply Safe Home Security. Get yours today. Protect your home and family. SimplySafeHannity.com. You'll get a 10% discount. It's only $14.99 a month. No installation fees and no contract to sign. SimplySafeHannity.com. 10% off to protect your home, your family.
Final hour roundup is next. You do not want to miss it. And stay tuned for the final hour free-for-all on the Sean Hannity Show.
It's Holy Week on the Catholic Channel. Jen Fulweiler.
It's important to remember that the purpose of this season is growing closer to God.
Father Dave Dwyer.
How we welcome new members of the Catholic Church.
Gus Lloyd.
I always wonder, did I train well enough during Lent?
Lino Rulli.
It all really happened, and it happened for you.
Holy Week, a time to reflect, renew, and ultimately to rejoice. Cardinal Timothy Dolan here. Why don't you join us on the Catholic Channel as we celebrate Holy Week?
Candace Owens, F the police. And it becomes a total, mess for her and a threat to her on campus. Not uncommon for any conservative that speaks on any college campus today. So whatever happened to the free exchange of ideas and opinions and thought on college campuses looks pretty dead around most of the campuses today. Bill O'Reilly is with us, the author of 15 number one best-selling books, his Killing series. And his latest, of course, is doing phenomenally well. He also is in the works of writing a book, Donald Trump, The United States of Trump, How the President Really Sees America. And he has a column out today about how these college administrators know that they have to keep order to keep their jobs, and they are really no longer institutions of higher learning and places where you do have free exchange of ideas, where that's encouraged. Mr. O'Reilly, how are you, sir?
Good. I'm hanging tough. How are you doing, Sean?
We're doing good. By the way, did you see the Washington Post declaring Sean Hannity has been right all along?
I did.
Can you believe it?
That. And that's
it must have been a misprint.
I went down there and had a talk with him, so that's why they did it.
Oh, so you went down and argued on my behalf that Hannity has been
Barron,
right?
That very reasonable editor of the Washington Post. I said, hey, Marty, look, let's go to lunch. Went to the old Ebbets Grill. I said, look, Hannity's been right, so let's get an op-ed up there. And he said, sure, Bill. How are you?
Sure, Bill.
You doing well?
Yeah.
That's how it went down.
Would you like to join our editorial staff? Yeah, come on.
The column I wrote that you mentioned is on BillO'Reilly.com. It's called Propaganda U. And here's how it works so everybody understands, because I and you, we're both paying tuition, for urchins to go to college and unbelievable costs. So people should know what they're getting into. Every college is a board of directors. And the board of directors is directly responsible for hiring and firing administrators, not teachers. Teachers, a lot of college teachers have tenure. Tenure means you can't get fired. But the administrators don't have that. So in many, many places, the college board of directors, and this extends into places like Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee, conservative places in the country. They are very liberal people. And they now are demanding two things. Inclusion, and that's an interesting word because not everybody is included in inclusion, and diversity. So, above all, the chancellors of the universities have to prove themselves to be champions of inclusion and diversity. And how they do that is they let their campuses run wild to the far left. And that's what's going on.
It's a hostility, though, that is, it's always been there. I mean, go back to the Bill Bennett days and Bill Buckley days and other prominent conservatives at the time, and they faced some type of criticism, some protest, but I don't think it's ever been this bad to the point where it's almost become impossible in many instances for conservatives to ever even get to giving the speech on campus.
Well, that's because they only hire far left professors and administrators. 90% in recent studies of college teachers are liberal. And they may not be bomb-throwing far left liberal, but they're certainly not going to vote for Donald Trump. So if the election were only held among college professors and administrators, Trump would lose to anybody 90-10. Now, in the Vietnam era, that's when I was at college, at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. There were radical leftists, and they caused a lot of trouble by burning down buildings and occupying and yelling and screaming and all of that. But it wasn't the campus policy to allow them to do it. So there was a tension. Now there is no tension. It's you can do whatever you want if you're a far left loon. But if you object to the lunacy, then you are a bigot. So you're interfering with inclusion and diversity. So we don't want you here. Get off campus. So much so that the President of the United States had to sign an executive order that said if colleges do not allow freedom of speech, you're not going to get any federal money. Now, the media didn't report on that. I know you did. But the media didn't report that executive order. That's how bad this is in America today.
Let me ask you your thoughts. This Mueller report is out tomorrow. This is we've had 2.5 years, Bill, of nonstop, never-ending tinfoil hat conspiracy theories. We already know from the March 24th, 2019 letter of the Attorney General William Barr. He actually quotes the Mueller report as it relates to, quote, Russian interference and collusion, and it says the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. So the collusion lie is what it is, and it is, to me, it should be the end of anybody putting any faith, hope, and trust in the big networks or fake news CNN or conspiracy TV MSNBC or the Post or the Times. But I assume they're going to pick out a couple of lines like, oh, Donald Trump talked about firing Mueller. Donald Trump wanted to fire Sessions. Donald Trump fired Comey. Even Comey said he could be fired for any reason at all or no reason at all. Donald Trump talked about that, but Donald Trump didn't do anything like the deep state talked about, recording a sitting president and surveilling him without a warrant, and also the 25th Amendment trying to invoke that, but they didn't do it. Where does this land? Because this is the final rubber bullet in their gun. I think it lands flat.
Yeah, I mean, Boris Marty releases it on Holy Thursday, then we have Good Friday Passover, and then the story, who's going to be watching? Nobody. But this is all about saving face. Now, if you know Eastern culture, the most important thing for Asians is not to be embarrassed publicly. Right. So the networks and the media operations in America have been embarrassed publicly. So
I don't think that. Do they ever lose
a lot of money?
Do they ever lose the branding of Trump saying they're fake news? I don't think it goes away ever because he's been proven correct.
Yeah, but they have to. But this ties right into the Mueller report. So they're not going to come out and say, we were wrong, we're sorry, and we'll try to do better next time. We'll try to be fair and examine the story as it unfolds, not root for a certain outcome, which is what they did. They're not going to do that. They're going to try to latch on to anything in the Mueller report that justifies their erroneous and unfair reporting for the last 2 years. But the good news is Americans have had enough. So there's not going to be any audience for it. If you look at the television ratings, and I'm sure you do because you're now the top-rated cable show.
Yeah, by the way, you can have that distinction back anytime you want it.
But I'm too old now.
No. I actually want you to have it because then you'll take all the crap I'm taking, and I'm sick of it.
I really want to get back into that hate swamp. But if you
I'll leave it to
ratings,
you. Thanks a lot. I'm inviting you back, and you won't take my invitation.
Yeah, I know you are.
Misery loves Bill. Misery loves company.
Anybody give me a hard time, let me know.
Misery loves company. Go ahead.
Yeah. But CNN and MSNBC have lost, 40% of their audience in the last 3 weeks.
Correct.
So they're not going to get it back, and no matter what they do. So it's like a spoiled kid after you punish him, and then he comes out and he starts wailing, "Why'd you do that to me?" It's like, okay, no one's listening to you. And so that's the good news, that no matter what they do or gin up, it's not going to have any effect on the country. But here's what will. On BillO'Reilly.com on Monday, we had Joe DeGenova on. You've had him on many times. Very smart U.S. attorney, former U.S. attorney in D.C. He guarantees, Hannity, that the Inspector General report, Horowitz, is going to come back with referrals for
criminal
indictments.
Referrals. Yes, that's all true.
Referrals for indictments.
Hey, Bill, it's Bill. There's going to be you're going to have the Horowitz report. You're getting the Huber report. You're getting 53 more undisclosed, behind closed door testimonies out. You've got a real investigation now into the investigators and Hillary's rigged investigation because she did commit crimes and did obstruct crimes.
But it even goes further than that, because once you start to indict and arrest, a number of those people are going to flip.
They're already flipping. You can see it in the few. Doug Collins, the congressman from Georgia, his release of the Orrs, Nellie and Bruce, and Strzok and Page, and more recently, James Baker. We're seeing it. All right, stay right there. Bill O'Reilly is with us. Quick break. BillO'Reilly.com for all things O'Reilly. Quick break. Right back. Your calls on the other side of this break in the bottom half hour. And we have a great show, Hannity, tonight, what the media will get wrong about the Mueller report. We'll spell it out. 9 Eastern, Fox News Channel will continue.
While the mainstream media is asleep at the wheel, Hannity Watch is on the job, bringing you the news no one else can. Sean Hannity.
An all-new channel is now on SiriusXM. Netflix is a joke radio.
With jokes from comedy specials streaming on Netflix. From
Dave Chappelle,
Jimmy Carr,
Tracy Morgan.
Like, I know a dude named Unique, got an identical twin brother.
Judd Apatow,
Todd Glass,
Patton Oswalt.
Here we go, that's my guy.
And loads more.
Featuring jokes from comedy specials streaming on Netflix.
Netflix is a joke radio.
On now.
Channel 93.
Have you racked up more than $10,000 in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by, making minimum payments? You should know the credit card companies are tricking you into thinking there's no way out. Credit card companies would rather you didn't know that there are ways you can become debt-free and you don't have to pay the entire amount you owe. There are debt relief programs that help people like you escape overwhelming credit card debt. National Debt Relief has helped tens of thousands of people just like you reduce more than $500 million of debt. National Debt Relief has helped so many people they're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan. You have the right to settle your debt for a mere fraction of what you owe. Reduce a large portion of your debt now. Call National Debt Relief at 800-246-1435. 800-246-1435.
the pond. I assume they didn't sail over as envisioned by Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez, and they're making the comments, well, it's like we have a divorced dad, and it's great, but then it's horrible. Linda, you were apoplectic about that remark. Why such a visceral reaction?
I mean, first of all, I just want her to be quiet.
First of all,
the woman started a program for food in schools that nobody ate, where we spent millions of dollars and kids went hungry and food went to waste.
Well, don't worry. That's nothing compared to the guaranteed government healthy food that is part of the new Green Deal plan. Guaranteed.
What is it? Meatless Mondays here with de Blasio?
Well, we have in New York, for those that don't know, we have Meatless Mondays. Yeah. And the kids love it. And I know it's the right thing to do because Sean Hannity hates it. That's what he tweeted out. Yeah.
I just love how the tolerant left, the most accepting liberal people in our world, have nothing better to do than to crack on everyone else. I mean, these people are the most intolerant, disrespectful. It's insane. Divorce is hard enough. Now you're going to make fun of what if mom gets the visitation rights on the weekends? Well, now is it living with divorced mom?
Custody. I mean, if you go back, a couple of decades ago, it was always given to the mom, almost always. And that has changed dramatically. And I guess they have joint custody is the term that is used. And you have, equal time shared among both parents. You're right. It's hard enough for kids to go through that, but it also happens at least, 55% of first time marriages. So it's
and she's making fun of it. She's making a joke about it because her husband did such a great job. Oh, your husband, the junior senator who voted 191 times not present while he was in his first year of office, that guy? Oh, yeah, he did a great job.
No, but it's insulting to all either stepdads or divorced dads that literally, I know people, for example, that had great career opportunities that were divorced, but they stayed in whatever city they happened to live in, bypassing the opportunity of a lifetime in some cases for the sake of their children so they could be around and raise their kids and be responsible. Now, you do have deadbeat dads and you have some deadbeat moms. So
there's deadbeat parents in general. But to say that, basically what happened, Michelle got sent to timeout. She's not happy right now. She's in timeout. She's not allowed to participate. And President Trump is telling her she can't have her way. So she's having a temper tantrum.
It's just anytime you get those broad sweeping generalizations, I don't care if it's about any particular group of people, or I don't care if it's along gender lines. It's pretty fascinating that these comments often come from those that most embrace identity politics as political fodder in campaigns. But I mean, it happens all of the time. I mean, we see the race card played every 2 and 4 years by the Democratic Party. We see the gender card. I mean, poor Mitt Romney, God forbid he had resumes of women in binders that he wanted to look at their resumes so he could hire them. And look at what they ripped him apart over that. But the double standard exists, just like I don't hear any I believers screaming about or talking about what happened with the lieutenant governor of Virginia, was being accused of rape and violent sexual assault. I watched both interviews of Gayle King and I'm like aghast, because those women seem believable. It's certainly, I don't rush to judgment. I believe in due process and presumption of innocence like I have in all of these cases. But all those people, I guess they only care about such things if it's a Republican related to Trump. I mean, it's the same with immigration. It's the same with, do they really care? Tomorrow they're going to be screaming about obstruction of justice, but nobody will mention the single biggest slam dunk case on obstruction of justice, which is Hillary and her email server and bleach pit and deletions and hammers. And so I find that whole thing frustrating.
Well, I also think one thing that we should talk about as well as we start, I'm sure we'll talk about it a lot, but as we gin up for all of these different, campaign trail folks, and they're out there, like Bozo, who now can't explain why he hasn't donated more, and him being at the events is enough because it's time away from his children. And I'm not disagreeing with that. We all have to go to work and spend time away from our children. Like, this is the line of work you've chosen, Bozo. Like, why should we feel, grateful or sorry for you? It should be, okay, this is what you want to do. Well, this is what's, entailed in trying to get it. And it's like, now he doesn't want to show his tax returns. He doesn't want to show his charitable donations. And then he has to show them because he said that he would. Bernie's the same way. Bernie's like, oh, yeah, let's tax everybody more. Okay, well, you start first. Let's start with you. You're the one running.
Well,
they're all full of it.
By the way, you watch Beto Bozo. Now, He's talking about the Green New Deal, says it will spur sacrifice on the scale of the U.S. in World War II. We don't need to sacrifice our lifestyles for your, hysterical belief in global temperatures when we have done more than any other country in the last 15 years to reduce carbon emissions. No other country is going to participate in this Green New Deal insanity. They're not giving up oil and gas. They're not giving up their combustion engines in their factories. And they're certainly not going to give up airplanes and cows in the process. So that's number one. And then, Beto O'Rourke goes out calling Trump a racist Islamophobe, defending Congresswoman Omar's anti-Semitism and her comments about 9/11. It was great yesterday to watch a college kid asking Bozo Robert Francie that year.
I have questions. You just released your tax returns. I was talking to my sister about this, and we were wondering why, as someone who earns 7 times the amount of income as she, a recent college graduate, does, gives less in charitable donations than she does.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Yeah. There are charities that we donate to that we've recorded and itemized, others that we've donated to that we have not. But I'll tell you, I'm doing everything I can right now, spending this time with you, not with our kiddos, not back home in El Paso, because I want to sacrifice everything to make sure that we meet this moment of truth with everything that we've got. So,
gave $1,166 to charity during the 2018 tax year on a reported income of $370,412. And by the way, in the last 10 years, his donations exceeded only 1% of his income, only one of those years. And I'm thinking it fits in perfectly. How many times have I said on this radio program, liberals are only generous with other people's money, period. They don't care about, Nancy Pelosi lives in one of the richest enclaves in San Francisco, net worth tens and tens of millions of dollars. Outside of that walled, gated community, though, we sent our cameras and, homeless people are all over the place. Needles are all over the streets. Feces all over the streets. And could she not go talk to all her millionaire friends and build a shelter on their own without federal government assistance and give the people that need help drug treatment and a hot meal and a shower and a place to lay their head at night and a bathroom so they don't have to go to the bathroom on the streets?
But see, that's the whole point, Sean. And this is the irony of the Democrats, right? So it's the tolerant left. It's, we want to help everybody. We want to save the world. We want to go green. We want to give everybody shelter, and everybody's going to have health care and free college education. Okay, you start first.
And daycare. You're right. Everybody has to get a job.
They're not going to start.
They're not ever going to. This is, and these promises, the thing that bothers me is that there is an appeal to some people that they actually believe these politicians. The latest example is keep your doctor, your plan, and save money. None of those promises were kept. Now you won't even have a choice of a private healthcare provider if Bernie, Kamala Harris, or any of these lunatics get elected. And worse than that, okay, we're going to have a wealth tax from Elizabeth Warren. That's you get taxed after you've been taxed. I mean, that's license stealing. They want to write
but
laws.
We got to hold them accountable, Sean. We have to get people.
Sean is trying. Sean is working very hard.
Sean is working very hard.
Hold on. Washington Post recognizes and declares Fox News has been right all along. You do know that they said that, right?
I do know that. I'm assuming they must have had a cocktail party right before they all went back to their desk to write their articles.
I have no idea. By the way, this will not happen ever again. This is a one-time effort. I need to get this framed. And I was singled out in this article. And especially Sean Hannity have been slammed for clamoring for an investigation of the investigators, aligning himself with the president's claim of politically motivated witch hunt. And then he said, yeah, Hannity's right. Now, by the way, I was going to go over this with O'Reilly and never got to it. So, everyone here on my radio show knows how hard we all work behind the scenes, digging up information, doing research, making phone calls, real investigative journalism, shoe leather journalism, phone calls, sources, trying to put pieces together and doing so. And
tons of vetting and tons of verification and speaking to local news.
When I get one thing, if I get, and occasionally we get things wrong, I have no problem apologizing and retracting, but we don't like to be wrong. So we put a lot of diligence into being right. And our ensemble cast, and I can't mention everybody because I offend somebody. And here it is 2 years later, and all of this is not only right, it's right beyond our wildest imagination. We have not been wrong at all in this. Now, I tell everybody the story how Richard Jewell changed my life. Well, we weren't wrong on the Covington kids, worry. We weren't wrong, nor did we rush to judgment in the Smollett case. Had my suspicions from the beginning, or UVA, or Duke Lacrosse, or Ferguson, or Baltimore, or Cambridge, or vetting Obama, and predicting the failure that was so obvious, and that he was a rigid ideologue that had zero flexibility or ability to grow in terms of his intellect or his ideas. He was a rigid, radical ideologue and never deviated. Not one time. So it's not by accident we're right and they're always wrong. It's how they approach things through a political prism. As political as some people think that I am, I don't want to be wrong. And we haven't been. Just look at the Washington Post.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being wrong, if I may. But I also don't think that there's any room for it anymore. So it's like, you know.
When I call you out for doing something wrong, you can't stand it.
Oh, I hate it with a passion.
No, the few times you've had to apologize to me, you hate it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's a way to set the mood. That's good.
What mood are we setting? I'm just telling the truth.
But in all seriousness, you know, I think there's a lot of people out there who don't care about telling the truth because it's not about being right. It's about being first. So if they can get out there first and they can get their message out there first, and that's
sometimes true, but this is even worse than that in this case. This was an agenda. They have devolved into a psychotic state of raging against a duly elected president.
But the Covington kids, I think, was definitely a place of being first. Like, they got a tape. They didn't vet it. They didn't call about it.
Yeah, but it was also, if they didn't have this hypnotic rage syndrome, they would have at least taken 5 minutes and made one phone call, because that's all it would have taken to find out if it's true. And they did look, they wanted to destroy they didn't care. If they can destroy a 16-year-old kid in the process of hurting Trump, they're going to do it.
Yeah, nobody is free from scarring in this.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. They're so dead. Oh, Lynn Wood is going to crush them financially. Crush them. It is, for Lynn Wood, this is like taking candy from a baby. It is fishing in a barrel. It is, just how much pain does he want to inflict on whatever particular so-called news organization he's after at any given moment? I mean, that's what it is. And we're going to see it all on display. I guess this thing comes out at like 9 tomorrow morning, and you just watch breathless hysteria, and you'll see everything that they've done wrong for 2.5 years. They're going to do it wrong again. 800-941-SEAN, toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. And it is a case study in why Americans can't trust them. A case study in what fake news is. They will never overcome the branding that this president has now tattooed into their foreheads. They'll never, ever live it down. And as I've been saying, they missed the biggest abuse of power, corruption scandal in history. And it's going to get worse because we have a cascade of information proving how right we were coming. And it's all coming, as I promised you it would. Cybersecurity Risk Assessment, by the way, has reported that hundreds of millions of social media giants' user records, think any social media site, including some plain text passwords, that they were found exposed online, free, ready for the public download. Now, the database sets were exposed by third-party apps who had been integrated with the social media giant. And the user records also include account names, IDs, comments, likes, reactions, check-in locations. So many ways these criminals can try to take what is yours. And when personal information is exposed, someone could use it to commit identity theft, ruin your name, your reputation, rob you blind. LifeLock detects a wide range of those threats. And if you have a problem, they have a U.S.-based team of restoration specialists that'll fix it for you. LifeLock, uncovering the threats you would miss on your own. Right now, you can get 10% off your first year to protect your name, your credit cards, your finances, and your reputation. Just go to LifeLock.com, call 1-800-LifeLock, use the promo code Hannity, you get 10% off. 1-800-LifeLock, LifeLock.com, promo code Hannity.